I've been playing quite a bit of Rocket League lately, and it's been a blast. I'm no good at it, but the fact that it's such a simple concept entices me. It's just soccer, but with cars. It's one of those games where the idea is simple, but the skill ceiling is so high. Pro players keep pushing the limits of the game to new levels that makes it so much fun to watch. They'll do things in the air that I couldn't even fathom.
He has been teasing us with flippery sets this entire series, and maybe when it matters most, he sinks one.
Then there's the people at my level. See, the skill ceiling is high, but the skill floor is at least 10 feet above the ground as well. For most newbies, it's a challenge to even touch the ball, let alone score a goal. I can't tell you how many countless whiffs I've seen, and I'm no exception. Okay, that's 4 people that have missed. 5.
I tapped it, okay?
If you haven't played Rocket League before, you should give it a try to see what I mean. The fact that it's challenging doesn't take away from how fun the game is, especially with friends. Hey man.
Sorry.
Kind of hurt my nose a little bit.
You're all just bundled in that corner. Oh, there you go.
Thanks.
Chef's kiss right there.
Oh, I thought you were kissing my boo-boo after you hit me.
Oh, that's too. I'm sorry. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Anyways, I've also been watching a lot of other people's dev vlogs recently. One type of video that I've really enjoyed are the ones where the dev will imitate the graphic style of retro games, namely PS1 or Nintendo 64 graphics. Those are the graphics I grew up with, so they strike a lot of nostalgia for me. So that's what I want to try out. Why not combine a game that I'm familiar with and the graphics of my childhood? What would Rocket League look like in the style of an N64 game? Let's get started. To achieve the classic Nintendo 64 style, we'll need to take a look at the limitations of the console's hardware, and a quick trip to Wikipedia will get us the info we need. The 64-bit CPU that it used gave it its namesake, but most of the software designed for it only used half of that power because, well, it was faster. This led to the relatively low-poly 3D models that were used to improve the frame rate. The fewer the polygons, the better the performance. I started by modeling the Octane, the flagship car from Rocket League, keeping in mind this low poly count restriction. I wasn't trying to keep track of the number of triangles on the mesh, just trying to keep things chunky, essentially. Until I came up with a model that I was happy with. For textures, most N64 games would stick to 32 by 32 pixels, sometimes opting for single colors on entire faces. Devs would also reuse the same textures in creative ways to achieve different effects and save on memory. So I made a group of textures that I could map across my model and kept things looking as simple as possible. I really liked how this one turned out. I made 2 more models in this style, one for the ball and another for the arena. Finally, I wanted to whip up a quick backdrop that I could use for the skybox of the game. These images were also around 32 or 64 pixels in dimension. I decided to do a sunset theme for no particular reason, just thought it would look cool. And those are all the assets I'll need for now, so let's hop into Godot and start building the game. After importing the models, I set up my environment with the skybox I just created and adjusted the lighting. The car will be the main player, and for that, we'll be using Godot's built-in vehicle body node. This will give us some bare-bones vehicle physics, such as acceleration, braking, steering, and even suspension. Oh, and by the way, if you were expecting this game to be an accurate replica of Rocket League's core gameplay mechanics, you're going to be a bit disappointed. But I'll do the best I can to make it look and feel like Rocket League. I set up a quick little scene with the arena and the car so I could start tinkering with the graphics settings and, well, I can see there will still be some things we need to fix. Another mainstay of Nintendo 64 graphics is that most games were rendered at the resolution of 320 by 240 pixels, so we can set that now. And by adjusting some params for stretch mode, we can resize the window to whatever size we want while maintaining the aspect ratio and resolution. This is what will give us a pixelated display without needing to write any custom shaders. Next, I'll create the ball as a rigid body in a sphere collision shape. Pretty straightforward, no need to overcomplicate things here. And the last thing I want to do before writing some code is to set up the inputs for my player. All we need right now is a button to accelerate forwards and backwards and steer left or right. With all that out of the way, I can start creating a movement script for the Octane. Like I mentioned earlier, Godot's vehicle body node will take care of the physics that we need. All we have to do is apply the acceleration, braking, and steering using the class variables. So I'll start by capturing the inputs that we created a moment ago. Then to move the car, I'll assign a value to the engine force. Positive values go forwards, negative values go backwards. And if the player isn't applying any forward or backward input, I'll apply a braking force. Lastly, to steer the car, we'll just have to set the steering value. There we go. Not too shabby. And we only had to write a few lines of code. But I don't want to play the game while sitting up in the peanut gallery, so let's see how we can improve the camera angle. In Rocket League, there are two camera modes that you can toggle between. One is car mode, where the camera is locked in the direction of your car, and the other is ball mode, where the camera always looks directly at the ball. Both modes are pretty useful in different situations, but for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to replicate ball mode for this project. To do that, I'll set up my camera using a spring arm node, and write a small bit of code that will tell the camera to always look at the ball and remain at a certain offset from the car. And would you look at that? It actually kind of looks like Rocket League now. There are clearly some issues when you get too close to the ball, but I have some ideas on how to fix that, so I'll do that off screen. And right now the car can accelerate indefinitely, so I found a snippet of code that would allow me to cap the speed of the car when moving forwards. That seems to be working perfectly.
Back goes Aquino near the wall. It's out of here!
Like I was saying, that seems to be working perfectly. But now the car is also having troubles driving up the wall, which is a pretty prominent feature in Rocket League gameplay. To fix that, I placed some raycasts pointing down from the bottom of the car. Whenever the raycasts are touching a surface, a small force will constantly be applied in that direction, essentially holding the car to the surface like a suction cup. I'll create some grass particles to kick up as you drive across the floor. They emit from behind both of the tires when you're accelerating. The effect is pretty hard to see at this low of a resolution, but subtlety has its own rewards, I guess. Jumping is another key feature of Rocket League that I'd like to incorporate. All I have to do is apply an impulse force in the direction of the floor normal vector and it'll launch them upwards. Okay, I could probably tune that down a bit. I also added a puff of smoke that emits when the jump is started, which should make it feel a little more impactful. Now that I have jumping, I should also add air flipping. Instead of an impulse force though, this time I'll apply an impulse torque, which causes the car to spin. And if you don't hold an acceleration in the air, you'll do a double jump instead. The flipping should allow the player to hit the ball a little more strongly than they could if they just ran into it. Let's slap a bare-bones scoreboard to the top of the screen to keep track of the match time and points for each team. I'll add some color to it later. I also added a goal explosion using a couple different particle effects on top of each other. Oh, and how could I forget one of the most fun mechanics of Rocket League? Boost. Instead of using an impulse force like I did for the jump, I just need to apply a constant force forwards while the player is holding the boost key. Add a simple flame particle system and you've got yourself a rocket car. Of course, I'll want to limit the amount of boost each player has in the tank, so we can show the current boost in a UI element. And players will need to replenish their boost somehow, so I created some boost pads that the player can drive through to fill up their tank. The boost pads will refresh themselves automatically on a preset timer. Now, playing the game by myself was getting pretty old quickly. How about we introduce another player to the mix? Just set up some new controls, add another viewport to the scene, and bing bang boom, it's a two-player game now. Time to really start polishing things up. I created a better boost meter keeping the style of those tacky UI elements from the N64 days, as well as a scoreboard to match. And having both players be the same color is too confusing, so let's fix that by making the base color of the car white, then assigning a unique color at the time the game starts. The last thing I need to do is add some extra UI to tell you when the game is starting and ending. I invited a couple friends over to try it out.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with how this project turned out. It was really fun to try and mimic a game that I enjoy and study its mechanics. I think I would like to try doing some more case studies in the future. And if you would like to try out this game, check out the link in the description. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel in the past couple of months. Tons of people have been leaving very encouraging comments on my devlogs, which makes me so happy. Life is busy, so I can't promise frequent uploads, but I'll keep making videos as long as I enjoy making them. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, like if you did, and comment if you'd like. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video.
You hit it.
Who?
No, you hit it.
You
No,
hit
you
it.
hit it.
Alright, I'll hit it. But you back me up.
I'll go get a boost pad and then I'll back you up.
What if the ball stays still? Then you can just hit it right behind me. Torque War's got
Fine,
the
I'll
goal.
divert for the thing, but if...
I stood still, man!
Gosh darn it.
No, man!